Now, guys, I remember it was not that long ago that we were told by the right, hey man, we don't even really have a problem with trans people. We don't have an issue with trans people. What we have an issue with is kids. We don't think kids should be able to make a decision like that until they're like 18 years old. We don't think it's cool to have like teachers or adult figures around these kids to make it so that they're impressionable and that they start questioning their gender and they get confused, right? These are the articles, these are the arguments that we've heard. My brain stopped working at the end of the show. Bear with me. I'm hungry. And I remember hearing that at the time and thinking, I don't believe them, right? They act like, oh, no, this is just about concern for the kids. But it's always mission creep with these people, where they pretend like that's what it's about because they feel like that's a stronger argument and firmer ground to stand on. But as time goes by, the mask will slip and the truth will come out. And the reality of the situation will be apparent, that these people are actually just anti-trans, period. Well, guess what? Example number 7,412 of vindication. This is in the Hill. Texas bill would charge transgender people with fraud. Fraud. Here's what they say. Transgender Texans could be charged with fraud under state legislation filed this month that seeks to make publicly identifying as trans illegal. House Bill 3817, introduced last week by Republican State Representative Tom Oliverson, would add gender identity fraud to the Texas Penal Code, punishable by up to 2 years in jail and a fine of up to $10,000. The new offense would make it a state felony for a person to identify their sex at birth incorrectly to an employer or governmental entity, which transgender rights advocates say would prevent trans people from applying for jobs, benefits, or accurate identity documents. Oliverson did not immediately return a request for comment on the bill, which currently has no co-sponsors yet or scheduled committee hearings. So, and they go on to point out here, Texas lawmakers have introduced nearly 170 bills that threaten to roll back LGBTQ rights. And that's just Texas. When you go to, the country more broadly, we're talking about thousands of bills. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at, they want to make it illegal to be trans, period. They want you to be locked up for 2 years or pay a $10,000 fine if you're trans, period. This is another way of saying, you shouldn't exist. We want to make you disappear. We want to force you to live as we want you to live, which of course is their goofy-ass idea that everybody fits into the Leave It to Beaver-ass mold. One man, one woman, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, a dog. Like, shut up. If you're a man, be traditionally masculine. If you're a woman, be traditionally feminine. By the way, part and parcel of that, too, is shut the fuck up, get in the kitchen, don't talk so much, don't vote, submit to me, etc., right? I told you that it was not just about the kids. Of course it's not just about the kids. That's the Trojan horse. By the way, the same people who were, oh no, we're only against the children being trans or whatever. They were also bills proposed in Republican states that are now trying to roll back gay marriage. Obergefell. Look, there was a time, even I was naive enough to fall for this one, that I thought, oh no, that battle's fought and won, it's over. Right? Like that battle's over. We won the gay marriage battle. There's never going to be a fight on it again. Everybody's conceded. And look, to an extent that's true because the polls show it's still a majority of Americans who are like, yes, we're all for gay marriage, etc. It's constitutional right now. But in the states, they're challenging it. They're proposing legislation. They're trying to get it to go back in front of the Supreme Court. And then when it gets to the Supreme Court, there's a decent chance they actually roll it back. Now, thankfully, we have some legislation that passed through Congress which protects it even if it gets rolled back. This would be the government saying, or the Supreme Court saying, this isn't a right. We're taking it away as a right. But thankfully, we'd still have legal protections because of the bill that was passed through Congress, the Respect for Marriage Act, I believe it was called. But they are still assaulting it. They are still coming after it. And if Republicans had a supermajority, not only would the Supreme Court overturn it, Republicans would roll it back in law too. Because this is what they actually believe. This is how they actually feel. They've never abandoned their old school, idiotic, hardcore conservative, bigoted in many instances, positions on social issues. They never abandoned them. If they were being honest, they'd say some pretty horrible things about race too, and about interracial marriage. But this is a direct threat to the trans community, right? And it is now more difficult in all these red states for somebody who's trans to get the medicine that they need. I know in a lot of red states, they're putting a lot of red tape on purpose to make you jump through more hoops to try to get trans healthcare, to disincentivize people from getting trans healthcare. Used to be like nurse practitioners can give you the medicine. Now they changed that to actual doctors. It's hard to get the appointment with the doctor. More hurdles in your way to try to do it, right? And we're now at this point where some states are working, we don't want any more trans people. Nobody can be trans. And by the way, these are the same people who 5 years ago, they would pretend like they're all about freedom. We're all about freedom. We're all about liberty. You do what you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else. Well, that's the definition of doing what they want and they're not hurting anybody else. Like, who gives a fuck what somebody's gender identity is? Who cares they were born male, but they basically present female, have the brain of a female, etc.? Who cares? Like, it's not hurting anybody in any way, shape, or form, but they have a genuinely bigoted, xenophobic position towards these people. They don't think they should exist. They think it's degeneracy. They think they're like a defective human being for being like this, and it's all tied to religious fundamentalist horseshit, garbage nonsense about everybody's got to fit into the same box. Everybody's the Christian nuclear family, bro, and this is the result. Now, hopefully, this doesn't pass. But the point is, the ideas are out there. This is what you need to understand. The ideas are there now. They have the legal framework that they will use. And this is one, they're saying, hey, it's fraudulent because you were born a male. Now you're saying you're female. That's you committing fraud, 2 years in prison. Like, again, it's just a wake-up call. Everybody needs to understand things that we thought were off the table are actually not off the table. Right? This is one example here. Another example is the genocide in Gaza. I certainly never thought I'd see like a Nazi Holocaust style type shit in my lifetime that's that brazen and that overt. Wrong. We are witnessing it right the fuck now. And so we need to fight on every front. This is not like prioritize these issues over these issues. No, this is a full court press, every issue, 100%, give it your all, don't stop, because they're not stopping. And they're getting worse by the day. They're letting their freak flag fly day in and day out, right? It's getting more extreme, more brazen, more overt, and you need to counteract that. You need to fight that. You can't just lay back and let them fucking run roughshod. And by the way, to everybody who pretended, like, it was only about the kids, well, we'll accept your apology form, right? Because it's truly not the case. It is truly not the case. It's got nothing to do with just the kids. And we're seeing this crackdown nationwide. Trump banning trans people from the military. There's all sorts of anti-trans things that are flying around now, but at the state level in Texas, they're perhaps taking it the furthest anybody can go, which is just flat out make it illegal to be trans, which is a level of disgusting bigotry that is really hard to wrap your mind around. But this is where we are right now. All right, guys, that's the show, y'all. Love y'all very much. You know the drill. Everybody, please click like, please click subscribe. Click that bell icon so you get a notification every time a video drops. Really, really appreciate that. And thank you to everybody who supports this show on Patreon. It's true independent media, as you know, man. You guys fund this show from the ground up. Could not do it without you. The link is below if you'd like to support on Patreon. Or you could support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That's below as well. Or tip with that thanks button on YouTube. Again, never had a conversation with an advertiser. Never done an ad read. Never will. You guys fund this show from the ground up. And we have the default ads on YouTube. We're proud of what we've built here. And we couldn't have done it without you guys. All right, guys. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. You know the drill. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.